Let's talk about the burden of proof at immigration. Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law throughout the United States at our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. In this video, we're going to talk about the burden of proof. Now, most people watch criminal law shows on TV and they know about the standard in a criminal prosecution that the government has to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt means the absence of doubt. So then the jury can confer and figure out whether the government has met its burden. But in an immigration case, it's the immigrant and their lawyer who bears the burden of proof. Well, what does that mean? Well, in any kind of immigration case, except for deportation, it's always the beneficiary's burden of proof. And there's shifting burdens in other kinds of cases, but generally it's the immigrant's burden to show that they're entitled and eligible and worthy of the immigration benefit that they want to get. So if you start at just a basic level, let's talk about non-immigrant visas, a B1, B2 visit visa. A lot of people are familiar with that. If you want to come to the United States on a B1, B2, you have the burden of proving that you will come to the United States, stay for the allotted time that they give you, 6 months, 3 weeks, whatever it is that they give you at CBP, and that you'll go back home at the end of your visit. And that's the key, that it's your burden to show that you will leave on time, that you will follow the law while you're here, and that you'll leave on time. And if you don't meet that burden, then the consular official's not going to give you a visa. If you're talking about a student visa, same thing. You have to show that you have the academic qualifications to come, that you don't have immigrant intent, that you're coming for a good purpose, and that you'll follow the law and leave at the end of your studies. So it's your burden. And of course, when you're over here in the United States, if you're talking about asylum, citizenship, green cards, all those kinds of cases also require the immigrant to demonstrate that they're entitled to the benefit sought. So if an immigrant wants to get a marriage-based green card, it's the immigrant's burden and their lawyer's burden to show that it's a good faith marriage, that the I-130 should be approved because the couple are both eligible to marry and that the officer believes that the marriage is real and for love and not for an immigration purpose. That's your burden. And the way you do that is you file the strongest I-130 case possible. You file a ton of evidence, you answer all the questions correctly, you do everything right. So sometimes our clients get a little bit mad at us because they think we're asking for too much. Well, the reason we're asking for too much is because we want to win. We want to smash it. I talk to too many people who think, Jim, what's the bare minimum that I can submit and still satisfy my burden of proof? They might not say it that way, but that's what they want. They want to do as little work as possible in the hopes that they get just enough, just over that standard, and just barely show that they're eligible for the benefit. And we see that on green cards. So after you've shown that the marriage is real, the beneficiary has to show that they are admissible to the United States, or more specifically, that they're not inadmissible to the United States, which means there are tons of laws and regulations that prevent an immigrant from getting a green card or an immigrant visa. And it's your burden as the petitioner and the beneficiary to show that you are eligible for those benefits. So you have to show, yes, that you have satisfied the burden, that you are not inadmissible because of all those questions on the 45. Each of the questions on the 45 are ways to put a hole in you making your burden of proof, of demonstrating that you're admissible, because you have to prove that you're admissible. The government doesn't have to prove anything. People think, oh, well, if I submit my stuff, the government's going to help me and then I'll meet my burden. That's not how it works. It's your job, not the government's. The government has no obligation to help you. And if you don't meet your burden, if you don't show that you're admissible, if there's some reason why they think you're inadmissible and you don't satisfy them, they're the judge, they're the jury. They're the ones who decide whether or not you get this benefit. Same thing with citizenship. You have to show that you're a person of good moral character, that you've lived in the United States for the right amount of time, that you haven't gotten in trouble with the law, that you've been a lawful permanent resident, that you deserved your green card in the first place. If you meet that burden, then you get to become a U.S. citizen. So throughout immigration, from the start of the journey to the end of the journey, you have to show that you have satisfied your burden. And the most important thing that you have to understand is the government is not going to help you out. It's not their job. They're the judge. They're not the attorney. It's not their job to make your case stronger. It's not their job to advocate for you. It's your job to advocate for yourself. It's your job to show that you've satisfied your burden. So if you would like our help in satisfying your burden of proof for whatever immigration benefit that you're seeking, if Feel free to give us a call at 314-961-8200. Email us info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com. If you're just looking for free information, nothing wrong with that. You can join our Immigrant Home Facebook group. We have 15,000 people in there, many of whom are not our clients, just talking about the immigration process. We have our YouTube channel where I have hundreds and hundreds of videos talking about immigration concepts like burden of proof. We also have our TikTok channel at Immigration Hacking. And finally, if you're not watching our show, we do a show 3 or 4 times a week. It's called the Immigration Answer Show. We'd love to have you join us for that. Just look for Immigration Answers on YouTube, and you can find the show. And you can text the word SHOW, SHOW, to 314-470-3300. And that way you can get in the waiting room to ask me a question for free during the next show. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.